Now that we've had the time to fully process and mourn the loss of Nicolas Jackson, we still have a season left to fight for. We still have CL hopes on the horizon, and we can't be giving up anytime soon. So today, I'm going to give you guys 6 suggestions I feel we can turn to help us cope with our striker crisis. With no strikers and no Mark Yu, Dacho Fofana or Washington to turn to, could Maresca give an opportunity now to our young talent in Shumaria Mhueka? For me, he's probably the top talent at the club right now, and now that we have no forwards, we also risk the chance of overloading the few remaining attacking players that we have left. We've already seen Maresca believe in his ability. He was called up in the Conference League squad. He made his first professional debut for us against Astana in a 12-minute cameo, becoming the second youngest European debutant in Chelsea history behind Dominic Solanke. So does it only make sense now to manage what we have by turning towards the very best of what Cobham can produce? Mhueka's played all across different age groups this season, playing for the under-18s, playing in the EFL Trophy, the PL2 team, etc, etc. And he's played in a variety of different formations and positions too, which makes sense considering we had Jimmy J. Morgan, Washington, DeJohn Richards, and many others fighting for striker positions. You guys want to know exactly what Mhueka can bring, what he can do right now. And I have to say, I feel like this kid has the potential to become a future Premier League caliber player. I'm going to tell you guys exactly why. He's a great, strong ball carrier. He has an exceptional talent already he's mastered at this young age, and that's his ability to quickly just drop a shoulder, get past the man. He's absolutely top class at shifting the ball, and he uses that skill set all the time to bamboozle opposition players. He's an unpredictable player. He provides that bit of chaos. He plays with purpose. He sees the game a step ahead. He doesn't run for the sake of it. He doesn't dribble for the sake of it. And he's someone that trusts himself technically. He can take shots off with both feet. He can hit it at the near post. He can blast the ball. He can score a solo effort. And this season, he's slowly learning how to receive with his back behind goal a bit more, because physically, he can ride a challenge. I think this kid oozes a lot of natural ability, a lot of natural class. And I've always said I've seen that little bit of Sergio Aguero in his game based on his physiology and how he plays up front. Once upon a time, Marcus Rashford once found himself thrust into the limelight after barely featuring for the under-21s at Man United, with Nicky Butt once famously saying that he wasn't ready yet to do anything in the first team. United were hit with an injury crisis up front. Van Gaal gave him the opportunity, and the storyline wrote itself. So, in our current moment of desperation, do we offer Mhueka the opportunity to create his own storyline here for this season? Okay, maybe that might be a bit too much for you, because Mhueka realistically might be beneficial for the last 10-15 minutes. Maybe you want to see a player that's already in the first team being given proper opportunities to show what he can do. And maybe it's time to turn to using Cole Palmer at false 9 again. And I say again because I think we've all forgotten that last season he played around 6 or 7 games up front under Pochettino, and in those games he scored 1 goal, got 3 assists, and actually missed a host of chances to add to his goal tally. We first saw him play against Arsenal false 9, where he scored a goal in that 2-2 draw at the Bridge, and he played a fantastic game against Aston Villa, setting his teammates up with 2 assists in that game. Cole Palmer's been the type of attacking player, the rare type of attacking player that can play in all types of different positions. Pep Guardiola's also used him as a false 9 at times. It's not unfamiliar for him, and you have to realize with Cole Palmer's ability to just find himself unmarked inside the box, this is a player that's had many transferable qualities, playing across many different roles and many different positions. So Cole Palmer could be the best player to make full sense and offer the best quality at the moment up front as our false 9. But the key thing simply is this: when Pochettino played Cole Palmer at false 9, Cole Palmer wasn't being supplemented by the midfield. If anything, Nicolas Jackson, Mhueka, and the other wingers had the license to move inside the box, and Cole Palmer was able to facilitate that attack in the transition time and time again, playing up front. So if we want Cole Palmer to do his thing up front for us, I feel that Maresca will have to adapt and change how he gets the team breaking teams down in that final third. Which leads us to the third option, and maybe we must expect Enzo Maresca now to do better for Christo Nkunku. Maresca said religiously throughout the season, Nkunku is not a 9, Nkunku is not a 9, yet his words don't really mean anything when Nkunku continues to find himself playing up front as a 9, being used in the most ineffectual way you can imagine for us this season. The funny thing is, in our 2-1 defeat against Brighton last week, that was the first time we saw Maresca properly using Nkunku as a false 9. And in the false 9 role, Nkunku had 100% pass completion, playing 29 out of 29 passes. He made one key pass setting up a shot as well. But as we're seeing on screen, the issue was that he was never anywhere near close to affecting the box in that game. And a lot of times the passes he was playing was setting up midfield players making runs in behind like Dewsbury or Palmer, and not actually finding anyone with a diagonal in behind to play to one of our wingers. If you plan to have Nkunku continue to play as a false 9, you must adapt how we attack, because you can't be having the wingers who in that game against Brighton barely had any box occupation playing all the way out wide and expect Dewsbury Hall and Cole Palmer to be enough to break teams down with. It has to change, but to make that change, Maresca thinks to himself, you know what, Palmer, instead of being the focal point, you're the facilitator, and I'm going to change how we play by making us play more in the transition, by having Nkunku play closer to the wingers, and I want the wingers to make those diagonal runs in behind in the spaces. I want the wingers occupying the box. If I'm going to make them play that way, that means I have to drop our lines, that means we have to play with a mid-block, and that means we have to play more on the counter-attack instead of being this possession-heavy team that's looking quite ineffectual at times out wide. Maresca keeps saying how important Christo is without actually proving on the fields where Nkunku is supposed to be important. Things have to change now, and is it safe to say now that Maresca must be doing better now for Christo and Nkunku and not the other way around? With this current injury crisis, maybe we have to be a bit more creative with our thinking. And knowing how we're Opportunity FC, could we find more opportunities in the free agent market with a certain Diego Costa being available as a free? Now, Costa finds himself without a club after leaving Botafogo in Brazil, where both clubs and the player couldn't find an agreement on his wages. But even then, he was playing as a second choice striker. He only scored 3 goals out of 15 games. And that's kind of how Costa's career is coming to an end at his current age of 36 years old. So, do we take that opportunity to have him come here, suffer up front, where he's a player that doesn't necessarily have the same capabilities he once had, especially physically? Is it the idea of Diego Costa in our heads? Or do you think there's enough of his experience that could help us in these troubling times on a short-term deal? The market does have other opportunities. You're looking at Ben Yedder, but with this guy's recent controversy, you absolutely avoid him at all costs. You look at Maxi Gomez, but this is a player that didn't score a single goal in La Liga last season and has completely regressed any potential he once had. Can beggars really be choosers, or is this something that we should be absolutely avoiding? Maybe the key to bringing in a new spark in this team isn't about finding someone who can play up front, but actually it's about completely changing how we play and what we do to break teams down with. So, for the 5th suggestion, should we be using a 3-4-3 formation? The principles behind this would simply be this: the width would come exclusively from the wingbacks. Up front, you see more relationist habits with players playing closer together, allowing them to be a bit closer to goal in tandem as a unit. In terms of how we play, we wouldn't be a possession-heavy team. If anything, our threat would come in what we do best, which is attacking and breaking teams down in the transition. And when you have a lot of pacey runners in behind and wing-back areas, when you have technical players in the channels between the lines that we possess as well, is this a new way to use what we have left to its best abilities? Obviously, it's not a foolproof system, and we can't be naive enough to think that this is the magical solution. But looking at ideas that can give us a bit of a different spark to help us compete that little bit more better. Risks come from the midfield. Enzo Fernandez doesn't have the best defensive IQ off the ball. Could that be putting more pressure on Moises Caicedo to have to do everything by himself in midfield? Who knows? But you'd like to think that by having 3 centre-backs at the back at all times, we could potentially mitigate those types of differences. For my final point, if this was something that Maresca could turn to, I hope he'd use more of an asymmetrical style wingback system, something I've discussed before in previews, where you'd have one offensive winger playing as a wingback you'd have a more defensive balanced player playing on the opposite side. The goal would be, of course, to overload one side to break a team down with, having support protecting your other side. Ultimately, now that we don't have Nicolas Jackson, it means that we've lacked the ability now to press up front to the best of our capabilities. So maybe a formation change where the pressing responsibilities are spread out, with a defensive change that offers a bit more defensive solidity behind us. Could that be the best solution we turn towards to help us get more goals and help us reach our competitive dreams? And for the final option, is there also a rare opportunity now for PL2 striker McNeilly to get a run out in the team? Now, he's had a very strong start to life in the PL2 this season, showing that he's a consistent scorer at this level. The question is though, does he have the capabilities and potential to play at a higher level where you're playing against a lot more physical opponents with a lot more experience ahead of you? I'm a bit unsure, but one thing you're guaranteed to get from McNeilly is this guy's ability to press, run. He's not afraid to ride challenges, which he does. He gets his shots off early, even though he doesn't have the most technical variety behind them. He's consistent with his ability to take shots off early without decelerating or slowing things down first. He hits his strides with a lot of conviction, a lot of power. Physically, he has a profile where he could perform in the Premier League for 10 to 20 minutes at a time, and his box movement is decent, even though it's nothing really amazing. Could he be the best antidote we turn to when we're trying to relieve pressure from our attacking players to give them the rest by putting on someone who's definitely got the mental strength, the hunger and the passion, of course, to take this opportunity with both hands? Time will tell. They're the 6 best options I can see us turning towards now that we're set to be without a striker for the next 4 to 8 weeks. What's your favorite solution? But most importantly, what would you guys like to see yourselves? Let us know in the comment section. If you liked the video, of course, hit that like button, it always helps. And of course, like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. So my friends, that's everything today. I'll catch you tomorrow with some more videos. Look after yourselves.